Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out another frame here from Nidici. This is the KUN-H5, and this is a 5.5 inch frame, not a 5 inch frame, so it's a little bit bigger. It's going to have, depending on what kind of motors and ESCs you use, obviously it's going to have more power. But it's supposed to be kind of an ultralight, skinny, armed 5.5 inch frame, so we'll have to see how much this thing weighs. I mean, this is all the parts in the bag, and it feels substantial. It doesn't feel super light. So let's get everything out of here and take a look at what the parts look like, and I'll put this together. Okay, so here's everything out of the bag, and yeah, it looks like a pretty simple frame actually. You got a rather long body part here in this center section here. This is where your flight controller will go, and then the arms obviously go off the edges. So it's a little like stretched out center part here. You got obviously 4 arms, and this is pretty nice quality cutting. Everything's chamfered and all the edges are nice and clean. For a 5.5 inch arm, it doesn't seem to be that big, but it looks like it's properly cut. It's along the edge, it's parallel to the arm. They're very, very strong. Doesn't look like that's going to be breaking anytime soon. Not so sure about this design here. It depends on how you crash, but it could. Not a whole lot of carbon here. Do provide these arm bumpers. Go on. I believe that the motor will sit here and it'll act as a soft mount as well, so that's kind of nice. And in any crash, the arms will get protected by these TPU arm bumpers. And then this is like another 3D printed part here. Obviously, this is going to be part of the frame. You got your side plates to go on like so. I think this is for a GoPro strap. You got your camera here, and yeah, it looks pretty nice. Little SMA connector for your video transmitter. But yeah, overall the carbon looks pretty nice. Obviously, you got some countersunk screws here, so hopefully those are included. But it shouldn't be too difficult putting this together. They do include some basic instructions. So here's a look at an explosion diagram of how this should go together. So I'm just going to follow this diagram here. And it looks like 5mm arms too. Yeah, so it has descriptions of everything: 5mm arms, 3mm bottom plate, 2mm supporting plates here, and then side plates are 2mm. So it shouldn't be too hard to put this together. I'm just going to follow along this diagram. Okay, go ahead and put this together, and let's see what this looks like fully assembled. Okay, so a little quick note on when you're putting this together. The 12mm, the M3 12mm screws go into the outer part of the arm, and then you want to put this side plate in to the bottom plate, notch that in on both sides, and then you're going to use this small retaining plate here and put that in, and then the M3 14mm screws are then going to go through. And then you're going to stick the lock nut on at that point. If you put the lock nut on and this retaining plate on first, you're not going to be able to get this side plate in here. So just be aware of that. Other than that, the rest of this should go together pretty quickly. Okay, so here's the frame fully assembled, and it's actually a pretty easy build, with that exception of the making sure you put the side plates in first before you clip on these. Basically, it's like a retaining plate or like a securing plate here that basically locks in that side plate so it doesn't pop off. And it's using these extra screws here, the longer screw, this extra 2mm here, to support the arm and also the side plates. And that's why I'm using a 14mm screw here and a 12mm screw there. The other tip is the 4 small standoffs. They go into, this is actually PLA, this little 3D printed part. Kind of hard to get them in. If you find that they're not going through the hole, use a heat gun to heat up the plastic, and then the standoff will go right in, no problem. But basically there's 4 M3 standoffs in here that are holding the side cage together. So this is actually going to be very, very solid in a crash. At least this part here. Although, as you can see here, it's very skinny, it's very thin, and the distance between the two side plates is 19mm, so it is meant for the micro CCD cameras like the Microswift, Aero Micro, Predator Micro, etc. Not any of the mini cameras or the full-size cameras, so keep that in mind. And they will take a 30 by 30 or a 20 by 20 stack. You can see not a whole lot of space here, but it's going to give you an idea of what might fit. This is the HGLRC Titan F460 60 amp stack here, and it does just barely slide right in. And just line up the screw holes. So you can see here that this would fit in here, but you can see that from the top angle, the sides are exposed. But this actually is what I'm probably going to do here, is use this one to build it, because it'll be pretty easy to build. Basically, I can just wire up the whole stack, stick it in here, and then screw it in from the bottom to secure the stack, and then I'll just solder on my motors. And the motor wires are all on the side, so they should be easy to get to solder on the motor wires. So that should be a fairly easy build. I'll just put my SMA connector out the back, connect up my camera. The battery leads are pointing at the back here, so I'll probably fish the battery lead out the back like this, something like that. And then obviously the battery will be mounted on the bottom, and you put the battery straps through here. That's what this is. This little section here is for your battery straps. So you got a bottom mounted battery. Just the frame itself is about 83.4 grams. And if we throw on the arm bumpers, I'm probably going to use them because I want to protect the motors. Now we're coming in at almost 96 grams, so about 11 grams more, and then we'll throw on the battery strap as well. And now we're coming in at about a little over 100 grams. So without the arm bumpers or the battery straps and coming in at 83 grams, I don't know if this is considered ultralight or not. For 5.5 inch, I think for a 5 inch ultralight is like in the 60-65 gram range. So this is a little bit bigger. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of borderline ultralight. Okay, we'll get a few more measurements. And by the way, all the measurements for the carbon were correct on the diagrams. 5mm arms and 3mm bottom plate, 2mm side plate. So that was all correct. To double check that in case you guys were wondering. So pretty beefy arms. 5mm should hold up pretty well in a crash, although it is pretty skinny. And then unless these nuts are super tight, there's a little bit of play in here because the arms aren't connected in the back here. There's a small gap here, and also in the front. So if these aren't tightened down all the way, say I didn't tighten the screw down, they will slide around a little bit. So make sure you tighten down these bolts. I suppose you could probably stick some piece of plastic or something in between the arms to prevent the play. That's probably something I'll probably end up doing anyway. Yeah, I'm going to do that. But let's get some other measurements here. So the motor to motor distance comes in at 225 millimeters. The side to side is 160 millimeters. And front to back is a little bit less than 160, about 159 millimeters. So it's almost a true X configuration, although it looks like a stretched X. So it's kind of interesting. The side to side and front to back is about the same, but the arms are kind of staggered. Usually in a true X, you have the arms coming in to the middle. Here they have the arms coming in on the ends, so it's kind of a different look on this frame, but it should fly like a true X then, with the motors sort of being configured like a true X. We'll have to see how it flies. Anyway, I'll have a separate build video. I'm probably going to use the HGLRC stacks to build. There's probably not going to be much to that build, really. You just have to wire this up, not much to that, and then wire up your motors. So I'll have a build overview and some flight demo footage coming up in a future video, so stay tuned for that. Any of you guys have any questions about this, let me know in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.